Well, hello and welcome to day 10 of the Cool Room sessions with the Carwyn Black Box. Getting near the end now, but awesome beers right the way along, and that's going to be absolutely true of today as well. A very old friend of the podcast, Evan, Bright Brewery, great to have you back on, mate. And we even get that little view out the back behind you there just to give a bit of a feeling for what it's like up in lovely Bright. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, mate. I did try and pick a spot that looked more picturesque than a brew floor, so this was pretty strategic. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, you've done very well, and the beauty of that especially is that probably much better internet than some of the brewery floors that we've already tried to record in. So, well,
Don't speak too soon. Famous last words.
mate, absolutely wonderful to have you on the show again. Probably the most visited person into the Cool Room podcast. But for those people that have been living under a rock, or to put it a much nicer way, those who are very new to the world of Australian craft brewing, can you tell us a little bit about the Bright Brewing story and what your role up there is? I presume a new job title. That's a running gag.
That is a running gag, and I think we do have a new job title since the last time. So, my role here is I'm the operations and brand manager for Bright Brewery. We are a 21-year-old independent brewer. We are based in Bright, Victoria, which is about 4 hours, give or take, northeast in the high country of Victoria. We brew and operate out of the town Bright, where we derive our name from. So we're a fully independent, family-owned brewery. We started back in 2005 as a pretty much essentially a brew pub operation, making enough beer to supply our, 15 seats in good weather style shed brewery. And now we have a 1,000-person venue. We have a very big factory and brewing site in town as well. We're a national brand, a little bit of export. We have a venue in Carlton, the famous Prince Alfred Carlton, which we were last year. So we've had quite a wild ride. But I think it's fair to say that we're probably one of the longest running and consistent brewers in Australia for the independent scene.
Absolutely, been around for a long time. Been on the show many times, and also in the black box many times. So,
Yeah,
seeing you
we're
in the
repeat
box again.
visitors to both, aren't we?
It feels that way, but in a really positive sense. You guys have a long association with Carwyn.
We do, and this beer in particular, pretty exciting one for us. There's a little shout out to Benny Duval on the can, a little wink and a nod to him on that in our little Easter egg. So yeah, we're very excited to be back. It's I'm often made fun of for claiming everything new is my favorite here. But this is my favorite of our black box beers so far. It's very much up my flavor profile. Yeah, we were really excited when this one came through and just, yeah, keen to see it finally come to life.
Well, I mean, that sounds like the segue for me to turn around, grab the beer, and pour it into a glass. While I do that, we've been asking the breweries just to tell us a little bit about that can art that's on the front before we talk about what's inside. You've already pointed to the Easter egg, but tell us about the rest of the design.
So, much like every Coolroom appearance that I've been on, I need to begrudgingly bring up our artist, Clint Weaver from Pocket Beagles currently. Apparently, he's getting a new business name. He hasn't told me it yet, but
Ooh.
it's not news. It's broken already. Although I would have been happy to break the news on his behalf. For this year, inspiration, we really wanted to. I guess the idea sort of that floated in my head when we came up with this style was I had a this idea of treasure. I was playing obviously off the black box kind of concept, lost in the mountains. But we sort of had this idea of finding something in the mountains and finding something special. And we are a gold mining town originally, so we started playing around with that. We've long joked that we'd like to barrel age beers in a gold mine in town because we can, which is an odd distinction, but it's something we think is funny. And then from there, we sort of came up with this sort of Indiana Jones inspired, finding something in a cave, Coven of Lost Ark sort of feel. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna give some credit to Clint for the name. I really struggled with the name. I was trying way too hard on black box puns. But yeah, we've called it Cherry Treasure. So just wanted to give it a real feel of dark and secret and special and sort of found, I guess.
Well, look, I found mine quite easily. It's in the glass in front of me. Take us on a little bit of a journey through as ever, what we should be seeing in the glass, what we should smell when we put our nose in there, and what we should be tasting.
Yeah, so for this year we've done a barrel aged cherry and coconut imperial stout. So it's kind of one of those beers that hopefully says a little bit of what it does. It's cherry and coconut are going to be quite dominant. Obviously we've got a really rich imperial stout body in there as well. It's giving a lot of sweetness. So what you're getting on the nose is going to get a little bit of that sweet cherry. Coconut, I find, is sort of dominating that as well, as much as a dark chocolate sort of note that comes through. Sort of think about this as like a imperial barrel aged cherry ripe.
Absolutely, and that coconut sort of adds a nice fluffiness to it as well. I'm sure that's part of the malt bill and other things that are in there, but it just sort of feels like it's elevating that part of the beer as well.
Yeah, I guess we wanted to play on the border of dessert and sweet without going too far down that road. And we have done beers in the past with both cherry and coconut, and gratefully we've been able to sort of experience how they both work in a stout situation. And this is the first time we've done it with an imperial stout, and then obviously putting on top of that the barrel aging to sort of smooth that out a little bit. So what I think we find is we've got a really nice refined coconut here. It's not too much of that. For lack of a better term, Latan coconut that can come through sometimes with coconut beers. It's smoothed out by the barrel, a bit of vanilla that sort of comes off the barrel as well. And the cherry is just really nice. It's rather than sort of being herbaceous, it's a bit darker and juicier. So it's got a more of an overripe cherry note that's coming through. And when you sort of meld that together, I think with the dark notes, sort of the subtle coconut and that little vanilla sweetness, it really lays together quite nicely. Nothing's too dominant, but you do get across the palate a touch point for sort of everything we're looking for.
You've got a big team up there now, as you mentioned just before. Like, who was the ones behind the actual brewing of it? Like, talk to us a little bit about what it takes to bring a beer like this together.
So you'll note on the Easter egg, the original name was Better Late Than Never. That might indicate the time frame I was given to get this beer
That's
together.
kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah. Fortunately, we're pretty good at getting stuff done around here. This was a collaboration internally between our head of brewing operations, Lewis Kerr, and our lead brewer, Sean Rinn. So I guess the idea was sort of put to them. We want something big, want something dark, want something barreled, obviously for black box. But we thought about the time of year that was coming up, some of the beers that we've done in the past, and we felt that um, previously, as I said, we'd done some cherry and some coconut style beers, and we'd always wanted to play with an imperial stout. And we actually had some barrels that were coming up just as this was coming through, so it was very good timing. So the two of them sort of worked on this. I honestly think we turned the concept around for the style in about 15 minutes, and then from the artwork and the name, Clint and I probably got that done in the following seven. So 22 minutes from question to answer was a pretty good run.
I mean, part of what I was alluding to there, and you've sort of mentioned there in passing, is that you guys actually have a proper barrel program
Mhm.
that allows you to do some of that. There's not that many brewers in Australia that actually have that kind of thing going on. Can you talk us a little bit about that, both the beginning of it and the evolution of it, and what that means? I mean, for a lot of people won't actually sort of have visited breweries that have a program like that.
Yeah, so it's something that we're always looking to evolve on it and grow with. I think a lot of breweries over the better part of the last 2 decades have in some way dabbled with barrel beers, and much the same with us. When we had opportunities, we get barrels, and it was a bit of a here and there sort of program. And over probably the past 5 or 6 years, we through a collaboration with Carwyn. So if anyone remembers the Le Chateau de Monsters series that we did with Carwyn with the weirdest barrels that uh, Ben Carwyn could find apparently in the world for us to buy. Um, but then also just, we've got proximity to some a great distillery up here in Yakandanda with Backwards. We're currently in the middle about three-quarters of the way through a program with Starwood where we've been doing, a barrel aging series with them, and there's some products going to come out under that. But then also, I believe about 3 years ago, looking at the market, we knew that there was still a taste for barrel aged beers, but understood that sort of post-COVID with some of the economic challenges that were rolling about, maybe people weren't too keen to drop $20 on an imperial stout anymore. And we did know there was an audience still for it, but retailers were definitely less likely to sort of pick that product up as the market was, really shifting towards everyday beers. So we reinvested back in the barrel program. I think when a lot of people would have taken themselves away from it. we developed a new brand that sits in the Bright Brewery brand house, which is called Infinite Barrel Works, which essentially, we release no more than 4 beers a year under the Infinite Barrel Works program. The idea is obviously they have to be barrel aged. They can't be an adjunct product, so they have to be very traditional in style. So far we've done a mead barrel aged imperial stout, a whiskey barrel aged imperial stout, a whiskey barrel aged dark barley wine. So trying to play more with that, and with the idea being they're very small releases. They don't see wholesale trade. You either buy them through our venues or our online store. So still having that opportunity to develop out that program, invest into it, and it's something that we're pretty keen to continue on for the following years. We're currently in the throes of investigating how we can safely do a larger scale barrel sour program. Without obviously risking our current brew house situation by having sour. So that's something that's been going for a while. But yeah, I guess we really love the idea of barrel aging. We love the idea of experimentation. I think, if you look in Australia at the moment, we release about 50 beers a year. So we're probably, not the highest end of releases, but I still think we're quite in the top end of innovation and new products. And just the opportunity to play with barrels and have access to what we have. And I guess the breadth of products we make throughout the year too allows us to do things maybe stylistically that other breweries don't have the opportunities to do. So yeah.
Yep. And what does that all bring? I mean, part of the reason why you make these beers is obviously because you guys love making them. But what do you want your customers? What do you want people who are sipping this beer, on day 10 of the black box? What experience are you wanting them to have?
For us, the beauty of something like Black Box, and then obviously a beer like this and the other beers that are in the box as well, is it's that opportunity, I think, to really enjoy, craft beer or like, independent beer, whatever we want to call it, um, for what it can be. This is not like this isn't something you're going to drink all the time. So this is that moment where you do get to connect, I think, to breweries and the difference in size and scale of a small brewery operation versus a multinational brewer who's never going to produce this product. So we get to go back into the art of it a little bit, and in a more commercial craft world, I think that, that's harder to do these days. So for us, we're really hoping that people can get the joint experience from drinking it that we have making it as well. There is an artistic nature to, I think, brewing and especially beers like this. And art is to be enjoyed. And this is liquid art, I think, to our brew team in particular, and especially to the wider team. So, I genuinely hope that people get to sit back, enjoy it for what it is, the quality, the reverence, the time and attention and detail that's taken as well. But also the specialtiness of it. Like it's not a beer that you're going to drink every day of the week. As much as you might try, there just probably aren't that many of these around to drink that much of. So
Yep, exactly right. It's a very special experience. We've been asking breweries, what they're looking forward to for the rest of the year. Uh, you've obviously just finished off Darker Days, a absolutely fantastic festival with you folks, but almost looking forward to spring and summer. You've got that beautiful venue. What kinds of things are you looking forward to for the rest of 2026?
I think, for us, we're always just moving to the next thing in some ways. Like there's always a lot going on for us. I think, without giving away too much on this, we'll have a couple of big announcements this year, which I think, we're very excited in the coming months. We'll start to announce some plans that we have across the business, for some things that we've been working on for a while. And that'll probably be sort of the lead of that. I can't give that away just yet.
I know that's very good. I'm thinking a gold mine related venue, so that's
Yeah,
all.
potentially, you never know. Like, it's not the weirdest concept we've come up with. Um, but on that, I think, we're just really excited to continue to grow the business. Even through the last, 4 or 5 years that have been so tricky for everyone. We're really fortunate that we've been able to go through it, and we've been able to grow the business model. We've been able to grow the beers, the range, the opportunities with that as well. So, being able to double down on that investment and just keep growing and still be a really focal part of the industry and continue what we're doing. We're very committed to being a high volume brewer in the sense of, of new products and innovation and, not necessarily sitting on our laurels or resting on our laurels for that. So those, and, we have a couple of venues now and there's always a million events going on. You've just mentioned Darker Days. I'm sure, there's going to be 10 or 15 more that sort of roll through that I can't even think of now because we like to bite off as much as we can and then chew as hard as we can. So
It's a wonderful philosophy, my friend. It's always great to have you on the show. Always great to have bright beers in the black box. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.